I'm going to call this Prelude to a Toilet, although I am shooting this after I've already replaced the toilet in the RV. I want to talk a little bit about it, though, something I did not go into detail with when I was actually up to camp replacing the toilet was, for starters, a toilet in an RV is much different than the toilet in your house. And it does not have a tank on the top, and residential toilet uses a great deal of water. If you have an RV, you can't be doing that type of thing because it's going to fill your tank up too fast. RV toilets are what they call gravity feed, which means that you push a pedal or you pull a lever, or depending on the model, and whatever is in the toilet goes straight down and into your, what they call the black tank. Some other things to consider if you're choosing a toilet to replace one: look to see what brand and model you have. And when you're looking at replacement toilets, you want to keep in mind where the plumbing fittings are. The flanges at the bottom are all pretty much the same. That's kind of a standard. But where that water hooks up at the back is going to make a difference on how easily it's going to be for you to swap yours. As you'll see in the upcoming video here, when I actually do the swap and show how to do it, I chose a model that had the exact same water hookup location, so I didn't have to move plumbing. And there was some other considerations too, but that was one of the main ones. I didn't want to have to reroute the plumbing or try to make the line longer or come up with some other kind of weird fitting. I wanted it to be almost, as you would say, plug and play. Another thing to consider, and I'm going to try to make this Prelude tactful to keep this family friendly, the toilet bowl. We originally had a round bowl in there. I opted for the elongated bowl. Guys, you'll understand why. And another thing you need to consider if you're going to swap bowl sizes is to make sure you have clearance and you have room to do that. Next thing is height. There's low profile and there's what they call standard or high profile. Low profile, if you have a raised area where your toilet sits, maybe you need the low profile. But otherwise, to use a low profile toilet on a floor level installation, you're going to find yourself really squatting down, and when you get old, that gets to be a real pain in the knees and other things. So bowl height, want to measure that on your existing toilet. If you have a low profile and you find it's hard to get up and down, make sure you have the room to use a higher profile and that nothing's in the way, because as a rule, RV bathrooms are very tight. Next thing to consider is your bowl depth. The bowl itself, there's different manufacturers have different depths. If you end up with a real shallow bowl, then guys, and you'll know what I'm talking about, you'll end up with what they call dipping. And it's not a pleasant sensation. If that's never happened to you, I'm sorry. But everybody's different. But you want to make sure that the bowl is deep enough that you also don't have what they call splashback, and nobody likes that. The way that these work is if you're sitting down to do your business, yes, everybody poops, you put some water in the bowl by either depressing a foot pedal part way or possibly pulling a lever part way or pushing a button, depending on your model. You do your business, and then to flush, you just step on the pedal or pull the lever or however your model's made, and it goes on down. We also opted for the porcelain. We had a porcelain one before. They also make these out of plastic. A plastic toilet is extremely light, maybe 4 or 5 pounds tops. The porcelain is more like what they call residential. It generally has a better water pattern around the rim to wash the bowl down as you flush. It's a kind of a touchy topic, and try to be tactful with all this. But enough of the prelude. Let's head up and replace an RV toilet. Okay, it's a perfect day to change a toilet in an RV. You probably hear a little bit of buzzing in the background. I do have the AC on in our RV here because the heat index outside is well over 100 and it's miserably humid out there. So the project I have and replace this Domatec 310 with a Domatec 320. So this is a little tough to show because we are in some really tight quarters here. I'm inside the bathroom of our RV, and this here is a Domatec 310, and it has the pedal control. And I need to replace it. And the reason it needs to be replaced is because when we bought this, to give a real brief history on this, it's a 2014 Keystone Cougar, and when we bought it was in 2015. The couple that had bought it, unfortunately, he had passed away the year they had it, so they only got to use it very briefly once or twice in the fall of that year, and then it was winterized and put away. However, when it got winterized, whoever did the winterizing, missed doing the toilet. So when we got this all on our site and hooked up and everything, we immediately had a leak with the water connection because it had frozen broke. I did replace that, and we have used this since. This is now 2021. The problem I've been having, which has been a continuous thing, is if you're familiar with RV toilets, you push the pedal halfway down, you get water, you push it the rest of the way down to flush. That has never really worked right because of the freeze damage that was in the foot pedal valve, but we just kind of let it go. Then we had a problem with the seal not sealing. So I replaced the seal. Actually, I've done it twice. And because the slide is warped, and I don't know why or how, or I doubt if freezing did that, but the slide is warped, so it needs a new slide, it needs a new foot pedal. Now, okay, we're going to replace it with a new toilet. So I didn't want to have to rearrange the plumbing and everything, so we went to Camping World and bought a Domatec 320, which is a little bit of an upgrade from the 310. And I'll be putting that in right away here. First thing I need to do, this is important if you're doing one of these, is turn the water off. Okay, this is going to be kind of hard to get on video, but try to get back here, and you can see there's the water connection. So I do have the water off now, and that needs to be disconnected. That's pretty easy. And underneath that is a little bolt. I think I can get back there where you can kind of see that. So that bolt needs to be taken off. We have the identical thing over here on the other side. So we'll get those two bolts off and the water line disconnected. And as you can see, the slide doesn't close all the way, and that's been just a problem. Makes it stink in here. Okay, so before I actually take that old one off the floor, I do have it disconnected and unbolted. It's going to raise a stink, so to speak. I think I should get the new one unboxed and carried inside. Spare parts, better keep them. Given a choice, I'd rather be out there than doing this, but it's got to get done. I need one of those. Of course, I'll need to take that old seal off, and for that I'm going to go get some gloves, etc. A new seal comes with a new toilet, as your new hold down bolts, nuts, and everything else you need. And this is a direct swap from the Domatec 310 to the Domatec 320. Everything should line up, plumbing should line up, of course the bolts will line up, that's kind of a standard thing. They do give you new bolts, but since this camper is pretty new and there's absolutely nothing wrong with them, I'll be using the existing bolts. There's no reason to change them there, really. But I do need to change that seal, so I'll have to get some gloves. Okay, and if you've never done anything like this before, you're not familiar with toilet flanges, the two side holes there where you see the bolts sticking up, that was the factory install. And if you notice these keyhole slots up here, that would be for the regular flathead 5/16 toilet bolts. These also have that wing on them. But since this was put in this way, we're going to keep it that way. I'm not going to turn the flange or start messing around with stuff. But get the stinky hole covered up with a new toilet. A seal does come with a new toilet, and I've already got it mounted on the bottom. It just slips on. So now it's just a matter of setting the new one in place. And bang my head on the shower at the same time. Getting the bolts aligned can be a challenge. I've got the one on the other side of the hole, but I need to do the same thing over here, and I'm having quite the time with it. There we go. Just had to kind of lay down there so I could see what I was doing. Now it's a matter of putting these nuts on and tightening them down evenly on both sides. Don't crank one side all the way down, then crank the other side all the way down. Do them evenly. That'll compress the seal, and you shouldn't have any problems. And connecting the water will be just a matter of putting this guy back on, getting it lined up. And while I'm doing this, I'll also mention while you are tightening down the flange bolts on the base, don't over tighten them. You could either break the base, you could break your flange, or you could break the bolts. And this also does not need to be super snug. It just needs to be up there to make sure it doesn't leak. And I'll go turn the water back on here in a minute. I'll make sure, because you can break that too if you over tighten it. Well, I'll have to turn the water on. Okay, and there it is. I may leave the plastic on the lid just to mess with the wife a little bit. We'll give this thing a test. No leaks. A little bit of a creak there, but the way it should work is you push the foot pedal down halfway and you'll get water. Once I get the air out of the line there we go. And you can fill that to your desired level and nothing leaks. Then when you want to flush, you just push the pedal all the way down. Release it, and it should leave a little water in the bowl, and that water should stay there. It was one of the problems we're having with the other one, is we could not keep that seal in there because the slide was warped, and it kept tearing up the seal, so therefore the water would leak out, and it would let vapors in out of the black tank into the camper while we weren't here. So then when we would come on the weekend and open the door, it's like, wow, this should fix that. So there's how you replace a toilet in an RV, in this case a Domotic 300 series. Not really all that difficult. It's still blazing hot, even though I got the air running in here. It's still horribly hot and humid, so therefore I'm leaking everywhere. So gonna, let's see, it's after 10 o'clock. I could go have a beer. I think I'll do that. If you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. Otherwise, I'm Roger, not in the shop, but at camp, changing a toilet. Stinky job, but we got it done. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.